So this video is going to be about how to create dynamic routes inside Next.js. And if you go to the docs inside the Next.js and type in dynamic pages here, you will get this page. And it is really simple process to create dynamic routes inside Next.js. Inside the square brackets in the file name, you have to type in the param name. So this example, they have typed in the post ID. So they have typed PID and you receive that param inside the router.query. So inside the VS Code, inside the pages folder, I'm going to create a new file. Inside square brackets, username.js, and make sure .js, the extension name, is outside of the square brackets. And this is going to be a React component. And for the name, I'm going to give it profile page. You can name it anything you want. And here we are going to import use router hook from next/router, use router. And we're going to initialize this hook first. So const router, use router. And from the return statement, I'm going to return a text. It is going to be router.query.username. So this username is basically the file, this param inside these square brackets. If you had, let's say, post ID here, and then you would have received the post ID. We can also destructure it out. So const post ID router.query. So I'm going to change it back to username. You can type in anything you want. You will receive that inside the router.query. So here, username. And here, I'm just going to type in username. And I'm going to save this. And inside our app.js, where we created our protected routes, now this is going to be another protected route. So let's add this inside this protected route variable, context.pathname. And here the route is going to be slash, and again inside square brackets, these array brackets, username. You cannot just simply type username here. You have to type it inside the square brackets. And let's save. And now back to our server. Let it refresh first. So now if I go to the account, we have already linked it. You can see we get Jendo. And if I type in, let's add something here. For example, let's type ABCD and we get ABCD here. So this is basically the query. So if you were using React router, you would have used route and path would have been slash and then inside the params colon and username. And you would have a component here. Let's say it was a profile. And inside the profile component, you would have used I'm going to add it inside this profile page component. You would have received the match, and then you would have received this username with the match.params.username. So this is basically the same implementation, but much simpler than that. All you have to do is create a file with these square brackets. You receive the param inside the square brackets, and you can destructure that out inside the router.query. And say we were using the get initial props here. So get initial props. Make sure the spellings are correct. And the context. And you would also receive this username inside the context.query. And let's add a log here. So I'm going to log an object username and return an object from here because get initial props always resolve to an object. And let it refresh. So now you can see we get the username Jendo. So this also works inside the get initial props. And I'm going to remove this get initial props now. Say you wanted to have a route. Let's add the inside React /post and the post ID here. And the component you would have rendered out, let's say post. So to create a path like this, I'm going to remove this. I'm just going to comment this here. So to create a path like this, /post and the post ID, inside the pages folder, create a new folder post, and inside this post folder, create a new file inside square brackets post ID.js. And again, this is going to be a React component, and I'm going to name it post page. And again, I'm just going to import our user router from here. And let's initialize it. Copy this one. And here from in the return statement, I'm going to return router.query.postid. Make sure the spellings are correct as the file name. So now if I go to the server, let it refresh. And if I go to the route post and let's add a ID here 123, we have to add it inside the protected routes first. That's why redirected. So our path name is going to be /post, and inside the square brackets post ID. Let's save. So now if I go to post and 123, you can see we get the post ID 123 here. So to create a route like that, create a route like this /post and the post ID, you have to create a similar folder structure inside the pages folder like that. So our route is /post and the post ID. I'm going to delete this one right here. We are going to create this route when we work on the notifications. For now, I'm going to delete it. And now inside the username, I'm going to show you another thing. If I go back to the account page. So for example, if we had multiple queries inside the URL, we already have the username, and I'm going to add another property here, say page number. We are going to just for example. And from the return statement, I'm just going to add a comma here, and page number is equals to page number. Say we had two queries here, so I'm going to add it inside the URL, (page number is equals to 2. So we get the page number is equals to 2. And if I change it to, let's say 22. And Jando, the first query, and the page number is the query, second query. So we get that 22 here. And these dynamic routes also works inside the API routes built in inside the Next.js. And you can go to the API routes here and dynamic API routes. So this folder structure, this syntax, square brackets also works for the dynamic API routes. And this is all for this video. In the next video, we are going to start working on creating the profile page. So I will see you there.